What's up, fam? It's Dr. O here, and as I'm thinking about the latest school shooting that has made it to the news in America, I'm thinking a lot about Dr. King's words, who said that we can't legislate morality, but we can regulate behavior. And what I mean by that is that every single time when these types of shootings happen, there's always this idea of now's not the time from those in the Republican NRA leaning type folks. Now's not the time. Only really is a time for thoughts and prayers. And yes, the father of the shooter was charged and all of that other type of stuff. But what about the fact that, Georgia and many of these other states don't have laws that require parents to have to be able to hide their weapons or seal them in a safe manner? What about these laws that these states that just allow people, young people, to be able to hold guns, military style weapons as well, these weapons of war? What about those, right? And people like JD Vance have this mindset of, well, we can't do anything, this is just a fact of life. It doesn't have to be a fact of life. When there was a AR weapons ban earlier, when Biden was setting all this other type of stuff way back in the day, violence went down as it relates to school shootings. And like, there's research out there. And then one of the officers in Georgia, I was listening, so I wasn't watching. Well, officer said something to the effect of, well, we're not going to let hate prevail here. Hate is not the issue. The issue is access to guns. I can hate a lot of people, but if I don't have weapons of war, I can't do anything to them as it relates to trying to slaughter as many as possible. I can be mad, maybe make some social media posts, maybe even physically confront them, and which all of which is problematic. Don't get me wrong, but this idea that we just won't let hate prevail, but hey, have all of the guns that you want in this society. This is nonsense. And this is something we actually can do something about. We can have the power to do something if we would just be mindful enough to elect the leaders who have the courage to do something about it. Biden wants to ban assault weapons again. Now Harris is taking his spot, wants to do the same thing. There are people who will make these things happen. We are failing our kids. We are failing our kids. This is not back in the days when people were, hiding under tables in preparation for like nuclear war, these things that never happened. And it's not even back in my day when the biggest thing we had to worry about were fire drills that we did weekly. Now we have kids preparing for active shooters as young as 3 years old in our society. As somebody who's been teaching on the college level for 15 years, I'm having students who are coming into my classroom who have experienced multiple shootings or threats of shootings or bomb threats or lockdowns in their experience, be it from elementary school to middle school to high school, and even some who may have transferred from the colleges that they were in. This is disgraceful. This is despicable, and we should be downright disappointed and ashamed in what we have done as adults to put our children in spaces to live like this. Those students at Apalachee High School dealing with this, they didn't have their ears muffled. They had to hear the gunshots, the multiple rounds. Those are things that people never forget. Some of them had to deal with, officers coming into their rooms telling them put your hands up because people didn't know if the shooter was hiding amongst the students, and they had to deal with those weapons being pointed at them, and so many other things I can talk about. The texting the parents and praying with parents via text message, people grabbing on to random students because there's an elementary and middle school in the area as well. We are doing this. This isn't aliens coming down from Mars or some other planet and threatening the country. This is us. We are doing this to us. We are creating a traumatized generation of young people who unfortunately have become too complacent as it relates to expecting this to happen. Not complacent in the activism, because with March for Our Lives and so many other organizations, and people like Representative Max Frost, who were inspired to run because of what happened there in Florida with the shooting as well. There are so many young people who are out there who are inspired, but the fact that so many just resolve that, hey, can kind of happen, it shows how we let them down. And I believe one of the best ways that we can show them that we got their back and we're going to start doing the work to change this is to elect leaders like Harris and others who will really do real work to end gun violence in our society. I was at the White House. I saw the man who's responsible for the Office on Gun Violence. He was a victim of gun violence himself. So are we going to be serious about this? I refuse to accept this as just a fact of life. I refuse to accept that. So many other changes we've made in society throughout the world, but we just have to accept the fact that young kids and many people in general are just going to shoot up schools. It's just going to happen. And then the idea of we just need to arm more teachers and have every student have a gun. Like, well, what's more SRO, school resource officers? That's what the deal is. I believe that we can do something different and better if we just have the will to want to do it. And too many times throughout history, we just haven't. But As Dr. King also said, I've started with Dr. King, I'll end with Dr. King. The time is always right to do right. And let's get out there and do the right thing, for goodness sakes, for our children. They deserve better. Peace.